if you're not enjoying that, if that doesn't fill your heart with joy, you have to change something. You have to step out of the comfort zone to change something. This is another of our Thinking Out Loud conversations, the kind where ideas are explored as they're forming, not wrapped up with a neat bow. In this episode, Brett and I talk about comfort zones, routines, and the quiet ways midlife invites us to live a little differently. There's no pushing and no prescriptions here, just honest reflections on change, habits, and what might be calling us next. Enjoy. Welcome to Midlife Unfiltered. In this episode, it's another one with Clarkie and I, as we discuss all sorts of things about midlife and beyond. So welcome, Clarkie.
Hey, Margit. What are we going to talk about today?
Well, I was thinking, it came up in the last episode when we were talking together, this idea of comfort zone. And I think it's a really appropriate topic to midlife. And it's really easy to get stuck in a comfort zone. And by this stage of our life, we've definitely formed some habits that perhaps we want to have a look at and also think about what it is that we want for our life in the future.
I totally agree with that. My whole life is comfort zone. It's
What does that mean?
It means I do the same stuff on the same day, it's just routine. It's not ideal. And if you want to put me out of comfort zone, you just put me in a different environment, and all of a sudden I feel uncomfortable.
Yeah, it's interesting, right? Though, you've had big changes in the last year that have certainly moved you out of your comfort zone.
Tried.
Which mean that not every day is the same for you by any means. In some ways, and in other ways, yes. But I certainly think, what I see for myself and my friends, it's really easy to sort of get into this comfort zone of doing the same thing in the same routine. Now, one of the great things about having routines and certain habits is that we make less decisions. So
is that a good thing?
Yeah, because the decision-making fatigue is real. Like if you think about, what made you stop and choose this podcast? What makes you stop when you're scrolling on social media? Every single time you're making a decision, do I stop, do I go? And so people get really tired from doing that. So decision-making fatigue is absolutely rife in our society now. But if we take it back to comfort zone, like some of those routines that we have, like, I think it's great to brush your teeth for 2 minutes every morning and every night. That's a good routine to have. I don't like to judge things as good or bad, but it's a routine that actually supports your well-being. So we can look at some of those routines. But when we live our life like that, like it's one long routine and we're doing the same thing day in, day out, I think that's when we get really settled into a comfort zone.
So is it good or bad to be in a comfort zone?
Again, look, I don't like the judgment of good or bad. I think it's more about being aware of where perhaps we're in a comfort zone that we're stuck in, and where perhaps, if we're not happy with certain things in our life, we might have to step out of the comfort zone in order to change it.
So do you think people tend to feel bored in life? The routine means that, I'll give you an example. The mother or the wife is...
Oh, here we go.
has got down to the routine of cooking dinner every night. And it's just what she does in some environments, not saying all environments. Is that routine tiring that person? Is it just, are they thinking, why am I doing this? Is that the routine you're talking about?
No, I think that's an individual choice. I do take, there's still a lot of things that are male roles and female roles in our society, and there's still I think we still take on a lot of those roles, I guess that let's call it traditional. There's still a lot of that going on, but we can change the way we approach tasks. So I'm not talking about changing the approach. For a lot of people, you need to cook dinner every night. That's just the way it is. I was a single mum for 12 years. I had to cook dinner every night. It wasn't an option to get my little kids to cook dinner. And we didn't have a heap of money, so the takeaway wasn't really an option. So it was more about, okay, I need to cook. So I can choose how I cook. What's the attitude that I cook with? Am I preparing a meal with love for my children, using some beautiful ingredients, or am I just throwing a microwave meal in the oven? which I don't do very often. Actually, we didn't have a microwave, so I didn't do that. But it's not so much that, it's if I long term want my life to be different, if I want to experience some different things, if I want to meet new people, for example, I have to do something differently. Maybe I have to go and join a sports team. Maybe I could visit a new place. Perhaps I could reach out to an old friend, for example. And we know loneliness is a big problem in our society. And I think midlife, probably not, I don't know, I guess I want to say not as much because we've got a lot of friendships by midlife, but perhaps it is.
Yeah, sometimes that changes. We have a lot of relationship breakdowns in midlife, and we go in separate directions, and all of a sudden those relationships with other people change.
And we outgrow people. We also outgrow people. And,
yeah, that's true.
And then what happens is, and so this is a good example of, it's really easy to stick in a comfort zone with the friends that you have because you know them. It's kind of easy. You've got a routine of what you go and do together. Perhaps you go to trivia every week. Perhaps you go down the pub and drink, every Friday night, whatever it is. If you're not enjoying that, if that doesn't fill your heart with joy, you have to change something. You have to step out of the comfort zone to change something.
So you're saying that in a roundabout way, that the boredom of the routine can be detrimental to your development.
I think it's actually comes back to what do you want out of life. If you're comfortable, if you're happy doing life the way you're doing it, well, more power to you. I'm not suggesting everyone has to change. I'm not suggesting that we have to live outside of our comfort zone. What I'm saying is that, in my experience, if you're not happy, if you want something different, let's use health as an example, right? And you're a great example of this. And I'm going to throw you under the bus a bit around this, but you decided you wanted to lose weight. And it's harder to lose weight.
You kept calling me Oompa Loompa, so.
But it's harder to lose weight when you're in midlife, right? It's just genuinely, it doesn't fall off like it did in your 20s. And so it takes some effort. It takes getting out of your comfort zone. And you've tried a couple of different things. Now, some things sort of worked a little bit, but it wasn't great results. It wasn't until you kind of tried something that was quite different that you didn't actually enjoy very much, but you got some results out of it. And so you had to step out of a comfort zone and find different ways, but even just to acknowledge, it was out of your comfort zone to acknowledge, I need to lose some weight, right?
Yeah, it's I think back about that, and the feeling I had when I was trying different things, and like most people, if they're trying to lose weight, they've tried everything. So you've done the light and easy, and you've done the keto, and you've done exercise, and you've done all sorts of things, and they just didn't work or weren't consistent, or you put weight back on very quickly after you lost some weight. So I guess I felt during that time that I was never passionate enough about any of them to continue them. I sort of would make a half-hearted attempt at it. Go, yeah, okay, I don't do keto. Yeah, I love steak. I'm just going to just eat lots of steak and eggs and weight will fall off me. But I quickly fell out of love with steak and eggs, and you can only eat so much meat. So there's lots of different things like that. It wasn't until I found plant-based, and I'm not plant-based anymore. I did plant-based, which I call survival eating, for 4 weeks, and I lost 12 Ks in 4 weeks. And I thought, wow, that's incredible. So now I use a modified version of that, and I still eat some meat, and I eat a lot of vegetarian stuff rather than hardcore vegan plant-based. And it continues to work to the point where I don't have to do exercise to lose weight, but I still want to do exercise.
Well, now you want to do exercise more because you've been losing weight, and so exercise becomes more fun. But those first 4 weeks were really tough.
Oh, they're dreadful. I did not look forward to one meal.
No. That's not a reflection on my cooking, by the way.
Who wants a bowl of tofu? Like, seriously.
Okay, there's lots of people who like tofu.
I'm glad you enjoy tofu. Somebody's got to enjoy it. They make it.
Okay, we're not going to diss the tofu. That's not what this is about. But you're getting out of that comfort zone, and it took a few tries, and it wasn't easy. But as you started to do it and you started to see some results, you started to feel happier about yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And it is taking you outside your comfort zone, changing things. I think a bigger change for me was joining Toastmasters. That was so outside my comfort zone. That's like, if nobody knows what Toastmasters is, it's about public speaking. And you're standing in a room full of strangers and talking about subjects that you may have researched or they may be about you or whatever, but you actually have to stand up there and talk without saying or ah or all these things that they judge you on. And it was there I did it. It was a really difficult thing for me to there I go again. To
step out and do it.
Yeah, just to do. Yeah.
But then you ask yourself why? Why did you want to do it?
Because I wanted to really wanted to just get outside my comfort zone, really. I wanted to be able to talk in public. It's something that I've always struggled with. I've been lucky enough to be pretty good at sport, and I've won tournaments and things, and I had to stand up in front of people. And I just sat there going, yeah, I'd like to think, I had no idea. I was terrible. I didn't want to win because I didn't want to make a speech. So...
Now that's a problem when you're a competitive sports person.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, like I've watched.
Can you play for a second?
Look, I've watched you, and you stepped up pretty quickly to do your first speech in Toastmasters. But stepping out of that, like you had a fairly clear why in terms of I want to get better at speaking, and in terms of then as you started to do Toastmasters and kind of go, oh yeah, I can do this, and you're getting really good feedback, then it's opening up other things for you that you hadn't really thought about before, like joining me on a podcast.
Exactly. So in summarising what we're talking about, what are we saying to the people out there? What are we telling these people?
For me, I just think midlife's a really great time to sort of reflect a little bit. People who know me will go, more of that reflection, but just reflecting on, where are you in a comfort zone that maybe you don't want to be in anymore? Do you have some experiences that you would like to still have in your life? Because midlife, and I say it, midlife is just the beginning. It's the beginning of a new and different stage of your life. It's certainly not the ending. And if we look at, my stepfather, who I dedicated my first episode to him, he reached the age of 100 and he passed away earlier this year. 50 is now like half of his life. And that's not saying we'll all live till 100, but imagine you did. If you were only halfway through your life now, do you want the second half to be sort of a reflection of where you are now? And most people go, well, hang on. Well, I mean, in your experience, you actually get people saying, I don't want to live till I'm 100, because our perception of what it means to age is not one of thriving. But I'm talking about, maybe even this year. What would you do differently? What would you, like to learn? What would you like to explore and experience this year? And where does it mean you have to get out of your comfort zone? And sometimes it means committing to things that are quite different and something maybe you didn't even expect.
Okay. It's important, people. I think, honestly, people should get outside their comfort zone. Just little bits and pieces. Not saying change your whole life. Just do things that are a little different and explore different opportunities. And it's amazing what doors they open.
Yeah, I genuinely believe when we just take those small but steady actions, it doesn't have to be a massive change. We don't have to suddenly completely change everything about our life, but small and steady steps towards whatever the changes are that we're looking at. But the key is getting out of that comfort zone. And if we start to recognise in midlife, we have developed those habits, and there's no doubt most of us are in our comfort zone and living within that. And the thing is, it can feel scary to step outside of that. So it's really about make sure you've got people around you who support you, who are, like cheerleading you on and saying, yeah, you can do this.
Exactly. I think we all should have a crack at it.
So thanks for listening to our episode with Margit and Clarkie again, and this one all about comfort zone, just our sort of informal chats together as we I guess maybe think out loud is what we're doing. And I love that. So thank you for listening. If you've reached it this far, thank you. We will continue to get better as we continue to step out of our own comfort zone in creating this podcast. But for now, I just want to say we're so grateful that you're here.
Thank you.
Thanks for tuning in to Midlife Unfiltered. I hope today sparked something meaningful and reminded you of what's possible in this season of life. If this episode lifted you up, share it with someone who could use the reminder. Subscribing will make sure that you're notified when a new episode is released, and leaving a review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify also helps more people discover our little corner of midlife truth-telling. You can always reach out through Facebook, Instagram, or LinkedIn. I love hearing from women who are walking this path with me. Interested in working with me? You'll find everything you need at margitcruise.com. And remember, midlife isn't an ending. It's your invitation to feel more alive than ever. See you next week. And now the legal stuff. The content in this podcast is provided for general information and inspiration only. It does not constitute medical, legal, or psychological advice, nor is it a substitute for independent professional care. Margit Cruz is not a registered health professional. You are responsible for your own choices and outcomes and should always seek advice from an appropriately qualified professional.